you all and welcome to the earnings conference call for the quarter ended 31st December 2017. I am sure you have all seen the results of the
The
company.
person you are speaking with has put...
Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
What happened? Hello?
Right. That was the line for Mr. Sanjay Gupta. It's on mute now. You may go ahead.
Yeah. I am sure you have all seen the results of the company, Music Broadcast Limited, and also the presentations which have been uploaded on our websites and the websites of the stock exchanges. First, we would like to highlight certain salient features of the quarter which are not that visible from the results or the presentation, and then we will share our understanding of degrowth in revenues and profits, which is story for almost all media companies. These salient features are as follows. Number one, after nearly 5 years, IRS Readership Survey came out in the month of January, providing the advertisers a reliable measurement which has been missing for such a long time. Findings of the survey have been shared with you through our press releases, which you must have seen. However, we list below some of the salient features for your ready reference. Investment in growing circulation over past 5 years has paid off well for us, and as a result, Dainik Jagaran continues to maintain its dominance in the print industry of the country. Dainik Jagaran becomes the first newspaper to cross mark of 20 million readers per day. It augurs well for future revenue growth. Whereas it has strengthened its market position vis-a-vis competitors in all its major markets without any exception, the most noteworthy is Dainik Jagaran becomes #1 newspaper of Haryana and Patna for the first time, besides continuing its numero uno position in Uttar Pradesh and NCR. Dainik Jagaran goes past Hindustan and is next to only Navbharat Times in city of Delhi, which is also for the first time. Nai Duniya becomes one of the top 10 Hindi dailies of the country. Number 2, improvement in per copy realization for all newspaper brands has been witnessed during the quarter. So, the era of dropping cover prices seems to be over, and now we are heading towards improving the per copy realization in the coming quarter further. Increase in circulation revenue for Nai Duniya, Nav Duniya, iNext, and Midday and Inqilab was there in Q3. Number 4, growth in digital revenues for the quarter as well as for the period of 9 months as against degrowth reported by the listed peers. Digital revenues have grown by nearly 17% for the quarter and 23% for the period ended 9 months. Fifth, the third core business of the group, radio, also reported growth, which is reportedly once again highest in the industry. Sixth, outdoor in continuation of Q2 continues to report growth exceeding 30% in revenues with good operating profits. Besides above, the most notable feature of performance of the company was keeping the degrowth in profits under check. In fact, you will be pleased to note that Dainik Jagaran continues to have a healthy operating margin of 34% even though the revenues were flat. Whereas degrowth of any nature is disappointing, managing the adversities attributed to external factors gives satisfaction, and we are happy to report that The company is sailing through tough times successfully and will come out still stronger out of this phase, as well as it has done several times in the past. In spite of flat revenues and the strategic investment in systematic growth in circulation, digital and new FM stations, degrowth in profit after tax was less than 10% on a standalone as well as consolidated basis. It became possible due to keeping increase in expenses lower than inflation and good profits reported by Jagaran engaged in solutions, besides some benefit accruing on account of GST. You may also note that the whole of the period under report does not have any one-off effect in form of additional revenue or cost saving, as you may have seen in case of one of our competitors. As far as degrowth in print revenues is concerned, it is primarily on account of division of festive season into 2 quarters, shortfall in government revenues, and loss of revenues from political parties due to the elections which we have had in the previous year. However, the silver lining is green shoots are visible in Q3, although implementation issues related to GST continue to be causing concern and uncertainty, especially to the small advertisers. We also like to bring to your notice that the group's financial health remains robust with net cash of nearly 400 crore, which is same as at 30th September 2017, in spite of payment of dividend tax aggregating rupees 120 crores in Q3. With these opening remarks, I now open the session for discussions. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you very much. We will now begin with the question and answer session. Participants who wish to ask questions may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. We have the first question from the line of Abneesh Roy from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Sir, my first question is on the other publication revenue. I see that for the last 6-7 quarters, it's been there broadly in that 86 to 90 crore revenue run rate. Now, if I see the new IRS data, the magazine category, this is not specific to your numbers, the magazine category is up some 95% versus the earlier readership survey. So if you could tell us, do you expect a jump here? Because maybe your numbers also have shown a very robust growth in terms of readership.
Other publications will do better going forward, especially, it includes Nai Duniya, which is one of the major brands, and also midday brands. In fact, when you compare 6 to 7 quarters growth, one of these quarters included the revenues from certain closed publications also. For example, City Plus and Josh magazine. They were closed, I think, about 1 year, 1.5 years ago, right? So, in fact, that comparison is not so much, on like-to-like basis.
In Madhya Pradesh, the leader revenue growth has been quite stagnant. And you also said Nai Duniya is doing well, and in terms of rankings, it's moved up. So in that state, is Nai Duniya gaining market share, and what's the plan in terms of circulation ramp up there going ahead?
The CEO would respond to that question.
Hi, Abneesh.
Hi, sir.
So, the circulation ramp up is directly related to our readership areas, the way we would want to take growth in the readership areas, especially urban cities, and good markets of MP and CG. So we are still formulating plans because the readership survey has been out only for about a week. So we are still formulating plans on our growth strategy of circulation for the next year. Having said that, we have had a good traction in the city of Bhopal and Indore, and we have shown reasonable growth in advertising in Bhopal and Indore, and we expect to continue this trend in the coming years also.
So my next question is on advertising. How much has been the contribution from real estate, government and FMCG? And in your key states, say of UP and Bihar, how is real estate and government looking in terms of outlook going ahead?
Mr. Shailesh Gupta will respond to that question.
Hi, how are you?
Good, sir.
Hello. Good. Okay. See, the revenues have been a shortfall because of the government advertising, and government advertising unfortunately is still not showing any signs of improvement as far as we are even sitting in January, and January is a main month because last year we had election revenue, and before that it was the central government which was very aggressive on the advertising. But we hope that as things settle, government advertising should improve and will improve. As far as real estate is concerned, in our territory, real estate has done well, in spite of the fact that other big cities, real estate has not been doing well. But and real estate for us is also not a huge category, unlike Bombay and Delhi. But whatever category it is still shown a growth of 3 to 4% on that. And as far as the other question was on your
FMCG,
goods, right?
And what's the percentage
FMCG.
contribution?
FMCG is doing very well. FMCG continues to do very well. But the smaller FMCGs, if you call pharma as a FMCG, it has not shown a growth because after a demon, and we expect that things should fall in line and should show the growth. As far as percentage of FMCG is concerned, I won't have it on top of my mind, but the category should be, sir, Agrawalji, would you be able to say what percentage would it be?
I'll take it offline, sir. No problem.
Yeah, okay.
Sir, just one follow-up on the government ad. UP state elections are now still 3-4 years down the line. This year, general elections are there for the country. So, in terms of, say, UP, how is the state versus the central government ratio normally? Now, central government ads will revive, but state government still there is no big reason for revival. So, in UP, are you expecting a overall big revival in terms of government ad, both put together?
We hope so, but we are hoping that it will show, and central government also should start advertising, because the central government needs to advertise because the elections are next year. So they should be doing some brand building for themselves also. But UP, we feel that it will take some time, but it should grow.
But what is the typical split, state versus central, say last 3 year average in the UP?
I'll have to check that. I don't have it offhand right now.
Okay, sir, I'll come back in the queue. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vaibhav Gadjatia from HNI Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for providing me this opportunity. So I have a question on the readership survey. So in the state of UP, if we go by average issue AIR, then who would be the number 1, number 2, and number 3 players respectively in the state of UP?
Number 1 would be Jagaran on AIR.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be Amar Ujala, and number 3 would be Hindustan.
So this is excluding variants or including variants?
No,
the variant has been excluded from the survey and it is reported separately. So let there not be any confusion this time.
Confusion about the variants.
Okay. So excluding variants, you're saying Amar Ujala is number 2 and number 3 is Hindustan.
Yeah.
And there is a huge gap. There is a huge gap between number 1, 2.
Okay, between number 1 and number 2 there is a huge gap.
Yes.
Okay. And if I look at overall AIR growth as per IRS for all over India level is quite low. It's just 0.6%. So do you expect that it's because of this low AIR growth, there will be an impact on ad yields on the national from national advertisers?
See, when you are talking about AIR, and if you look at country as a whole, it does not present, true picture, because the potential is not same across the country,
Yeah.
If you look at, AIR growth in Dainik Jagaran, right? It has gone up from 1.64 crore to over, 2.2 crore, right? Over a period of 5 years. So, which is a huge growth.
Okay. I understand. Yeah, I understand your point. For Dainik Jagaran, it would not have that much of an impact. But do you think from an industry as a whole, this low growth of AIR might have some impact on the yield?
See, as I said, potential is not same across the market. If there are markets where the penetration is already, say 50-60% or whatever it is, right? And there are markets where the penetration is 20%. See, where the penetration is very low, there only the growth will happen, no?
Got it. So,
if you are connected, to TV across the country, it does not mean the growth in revenue will not happen.
Right,
so
understand.
It will be expected only when and only in those places where it is not penetrated as much.
So just to stress on this point more, what's the AIR growth in UP as such for the industry as a whole? I'm sure it must be very high because UP is underpenetrated and just improving on the level of literacy and everything. So is the AIR growth quite impressive in UP?
Jagaran is too representative of what is happening in UP. If Jagaran has reported 30% growth in AIR on overall basis, so of course in UP also it has grown by, UP market has grown by at least 20 to 25%. We have not looked at from that angle, but Jagaran is too representative of what is happening in UP.
Okay. And just one last question on my side. So, if we compare the system of newspapers in India versus a couple of Western worlds, so I see there are two important differences, which is that the newspapers in India is delivered at home, which is not the case in Western world. And second is the prices of newspapers are significantly lower in India as compared to the income levels in the Western world. So I want to understand that how the system has changed in Western world over a period of time. I'm sure that earlier Western world also used to have the home delivery of newspaper, but that has somehow changed in last 2 to 3 decades. So I just want to know what has triggered this change in the Western world, and do you see it replicating in India as well?
What I would request is, this question can be discussed and debated across the table, not, on this occasion, for the simple reason, addressing these two questions alone would not, help you understand what is going to happen to newspaper industry in the country. There are hundreds of reasons. These are not the only two reasons why in India print industry is, doing so well as against Western worlds. So let us have discussion some other time across the table, right? There are hundreds of reasons why, it is not going Western way in any case.
Okay, fair enough. Not an issue. I will separately get in touch with you for this. No issue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jay Doshi from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. First question, I'll ask a quick one on newsprint cost. So, see, the newsprint costs for the past 3-4 years have been growing at a CAGR of about 2 or 3%. Now, I think we've heard from other players that the expectation of newsprint price increase is much higher for next year. So, how should we expect, overall newsprint cost, for Jagaran Prakashan for FY 2019 at a very broad level?
Yeah. See, increase in the domestic newsprint prices is going to be, I think, about 6 to 7%. In case of imported, yes, it is going to be significantly higher for us as compared to the current year. It is going to be about 25 to 30%. So on an average, I think newsprint cost would increase by about 10 to 12%.
Right. So that will be the price, right? But you will have, some flexibility in terms of changing the mix and pagination cuts. So at an overall level, what is the target that you have in mind in terms of raw material costs for you?
So I do not think we have ever tried to cut the pages to save cost. We have tried to optimize the page inventory, which we continue to do, right? And on overall basis, what is going to be the impact? We are still in the process of finalizing our plan for the next year. So it is difficult to suggest because it will depend, what is going to be the circulation target for the next year, as CEO has just explained. For Nai Dunya, the strategies under formulation, leadership survey just come, where we have to increase the circulation, where we don't have to increase the circulation. All those calls have yet to be taken. So probably at this stage, it may not be possible to indicate what is going to be the increase in the total newsprint consumption value.
Understood. And the next question is,
what I would like also to point out, since cover prices have started increasing and they expect to continue to increase, right? They will offset some impact.
Understood. Got it, sir. And the next question is, in fact, a set of questions on IRS. And so to start with, would it be possible for you to, in a brief manner, explain us what is the difference in methodology that was of carrying out the survey in IRS 2017 versus the previous surveys? Second is, what is the frequency, whether it's going to be a 3-monthly, quarterly thing or 6-monthly? Third is, what percentage of your revenue, advertising revenue, you think will be benchmarked against IRS? My understanding is it's only national advertisers who look at the data, and government advertising as well as local advertising, which is significant for you, may not really be impacted by this data. And finally, what is it that you are hearing from advertisers? What are, based on your initial conversations, at least the ones who are looking forward to, are very keen on having some data too? So,
answer to these questions will need, a lot of time, I think. As far as methodology part, first question is concerned, in nutshell, what we can say is AIR. As far as the AIR is concerned, that was meaning earlier, and even now that is meaning the same. That is the person who reads the newspaper every day.
Right.
Methodology, like the process of survey, that has been strengthened manifold to plug in the loopholes, whatever, observations we have had, industry has had, and whatever observations council has had, basis that they have improved the system.
Understood.
Right. Rest of the 3 questions, Director Marketing can answer. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Gupta. Do we move to the next question?
Hello. I think, hello.
Yes, I was disconnected. I just got connected. Tell me.
All right. So should I repeat the question, sir?
Yes, please. I couldn't hear the questions.
Understood. So the question is, what percentage of advertising revenue, overall advertising revenue will be benchmarked, or at least the rates for will be benchmarked with IRS, given that my understanding is the government advertising is largely they look at circulation numbers, and local advertisers, largely IRS does not matter. So that is the question number 1. And what is it that you are hearing based on your initial discussions, or at least with the advertisers, on how will IRS reflect on advertising rates going forward, and the inflation that you can take on rates?
The IRS numbers will make a very big impact this year, and all the leading advertising agencies will look into IRS because this currency has come after a very long time. And people were waiting to see what was the scenario because they were actually shooting in the dark. And they did not have any kind of data to put forward to the clients. So this IRS will play a very, very big role. And as far as rates are concerned, obviously with IRS coming out and newsprint prices going up, it will have to be re-looked into. The rates will also be re-looked into. Since the IRS is only about a week old, we are still we are still analyzing the survey, and accordingly we will start negotiating with the top advertising agents. I mean, with all the national advertising agencies.
Right.
And as far as local client is concerned, local client are also now the big local clients are also very bothered about the IRS now, because their advertising budgets are also quite large. So they also would like to look into the number. It's not true that they will not look into the number. It may not affect them as much as a national client, but they will certainly give importance to IRS numbers.
Understood. So is it reasonable to assume that about 40 to 50% of your advertising revenues come from advertisers who will take this data quite seriously, or?
Yes, I would say so.
Right. And just a small follow-up, if I may. There was IRS 2012 and then 13-14, which was disregarded by the industry, and now you have 17. In your large markets, both UP and Bihar, Jharkhand, are the rate differentials between yourself and your peers in sync with 2012 IRS, or you think it is more or less in sync with 2014 IRS? So
I think it will be more in sync with the circulation data, that is ABC, rather than the readership, because readership was trapped in 2013 itself. So
understood.
It was based on that.
Got it. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anuj Fisgal from Manas Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My question was also on the IRS, and thank you for clarifying that the definition of AIR in IRS 14 and IRS 17 is the same. So you've shared your growth rate based on AIR. My question is, will the advertisers now use AIR as the metric, or will they use total readership as the metric going forward to decide on advertising? And secondly, going back to the question that somebody asked earlier, based on AIR, the overall country growth is just less than 1%. But based on TR, it looks fairly high at around 40% for the Hindi print. So I just want to get a sense of how are the advertisers viewing this data, and what sort of conclusions are they coming to?
The AIR will decide all the revenues, all the advertising which happens, it happens through AIR. Okay, if it is a big campaign, then they might look at it the total readership. But if it is a 1 or 2 or 3 ad campaign, they will always look into AIR. Hello?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, yeah.
The next question is from the line of Pratik Baradia, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. I wanted to understand what do you see as the growth potential for Hindi versus English newspapers, and how are advertisers going to be looking at that?
See, Hindi is becoming very, very prominent by every passing day, and Hindi print, all the national advertisers and of course local advertisers are all the different for the language. But even the national advertisers have started changing their mindset, and they're looking into, not only into Hindi but into the languages very seriously as against English.
Okay, so the growth for Hindi will it outpace English, or will both of them grow at sort of at the same pace? Like, will there be one dominant?
It has been outgrowing English, and it should keep outgrowing English.
Okay. And for the radio business, what do you see as the future capex and the future growth potential after we've ramped up all the current stations?
Hi, Apurva here. So radio, actually we played out all the capex right now. We had planned to invest in 11 additional stations to maintain our reach of 60% of the enhanced FM footprint, and we managed that in part A itself. So there is no further capex investment required.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Kumar from Investec. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. My first question is just a bookkeeping one. The print, advertising decline. I mean, how do we look at this, from a yield and volume perspective?
Amit, there was a fall in volume as well.
So I'm sorry, sir. So you're basically saying that this. I mean, it's a 2% decline. So is this entirely on account of volume, or is it anything on the yield side?
It is on account of volume only. As I mentioned in the opening remarks, we lost big time. Government revenue.
Yes. Yes.
So that is what has dropped the space also, and as a result of that, nearly we lost about 15 crore rupees of revenue.
Okay. 15 crore loss in revenue. So yields would have been broadly flat in this particular quarter, or you have seen a little bit of...
No, that way I would say yields were better. Because if Jagaran has registered a degrowth of about 2.5% in print, sure, right? So volumes have dropped by about, I think, 5 to 6%.
All right, understood. So what would be the share of government advertising in Jagaran now after this adjustment, steady state, so to speak?
Adjustment also, it should be about 20%.
All right. Okay. And my final question, sir, why this difference in terms of international newsprint inflation and domestic? So domestic, you are saying is going up by 6-7%, and in international, we are sort of tracking a little bit of those indices also. They are showing a bit of inflation, but not to the extent of 20%. So is there any sort of specific? Is this sort of specific to Jagaran? You had some low price newsprint inventory this year, or how do we read into this?
In case of imported, we are going to suffer, higher increase, mainly because we had tied up the quantities for nearly 1.5 years. So whatever interim increases happened, that did not impact us. So this is why it is looking, that is steeper. Otherwise, as they say, probably, there is also an increase of about, 14 to 15%.
All right. I'll probably seek little bit of clarification on this offline, because our understanding was that prices had gone down and then they sort of started to go up. So last 1.5 years, the public data that we have on international newsprint pricing, even in 1.5 years, it will not sort of show up at that level of inflation. But I'll check. I'll clarify that offline.
Let us discuss, because sure, that is what my understanding is, because these prices at which we bought the newsprint in the current year, they were fixed about 1.5 years back.
And this sort of doesn't show up in your inventory. So you buy sort of forward. You buy some sort of cover, covers on newsprint essentially.
No.
So how do you sort of tie it up for 1.5 years? If you can just sort of finely point.
Because Jagaran has been bulk purchaser for years, so it is based on relationship, right? We agree to a certain quantity and certain price, which is what they adhere to, irrespective of the fluctuations.
All right, understood. All right, I'll come back. Thank you. That's it from my end.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Dukania from IDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. 2-3 questions. One is, can you talk about the sharp decline in midday advertising? What has led to that?
Yeah, so I think primarily the reason is the festive season. There are two reasons really. One is the festive season got broken up into two quarters. So September saw a reasonably decent number coming in. The other bit, Rohit, is that last October was a extraordinarily high year for high month for midday. We did in the entire existence of midday, and I'm talking about, it's the highest ever number. So in comparison, the degrowth is quite sharp.
Okay.
But November and December, midday has recorded a growth of nearly, 18 to 20%.
Yes.
So which is very, very positive. And when she said, it has divided into 2 quarters, it has happened to all newspapers this year. But in case of midday, it had some additional impact because now Ganesh Chaturdashi as well as Dashera, both, fell in second quarter. So this is why you saw, 9% growth in second quarter.
Okay, sure. The other thing was, sir, sorry to come back on the newsprint bit again, but, so if, let's say, international newsprint prices are going up by 13 to 15 odd %, so shouldn't India newsprint prices also, sort of domestic newsprint prices also trend in a similar fashion? So why are you saying that they would increase only 6-7%?
Because that is something, which we have already, finalized almost, right? That is one part. And number two, gone are the days when the domestic prices used to mirror the, international prices. We have seen in the past domestic prices, increasing, crazily, even though international prices remained, subdued.
Sure. Okay. And one last question, sir. So overall, while you were talking about green shoots in terms of advertising, I think you were still referring to government being slightly subdued. And at the same time, we also have newsprint probably playing spoil sport in terms of a sharp increase. So how should one look at margins, from FY19 perspective at a consolidated level?
Rohit, if you look at, this quarter's results as well, right? There was no growth whatsoever in the revenues, even though Jagaran reported margin upward of 33%, right? It is around 34%. Okay. So, as far as Dainik Jagaran's model is concerned, right, it has evolved over a period of time and it is self-adjustable. In the sense that, right, of course, we also do, watch over expenses. That is what we would continue to do. But more importantly, as I mentioned in response to other question, if the newsprint prices are increasing, right, the cover prices are also increasing. To what extent they will set off, that time will tell. But of course, wherever in the past, we should get guided from the past only, wherever there has been increase in newsprint prices to that extent, right? Publishers have all joined the hands together and have taken increase in the cover prices, which tended to, compensate for the additional expense on account of newsprint prices increase.
Sure, sir. I totally appreciate, the model of DJ, but I was more referring to from a perspective of consolidated margin. So even if we look at the 9 months.
Number one. Number two is, this is about the Dainik Jagaran. Now, number two, as far as other core businesses, radio, right? It has already done better than what was originally envisaged in terms of the news stations. Right? So, we should also expect that the radio will make more contribution in the next year, number two. Number three, other publications, Nai Duniya, despite, as somebody said, despite the fact that the leader in the market had almost stagnant revenue, Nai Duniya recorded growth in advertisement revenue of 2 to 3%. With improved readership position, we should expect still higher growth. As Director Marketing explained, it should help him to ask for more increase in the ad rates. See, this year, we should also understand one very, very important point. Whereas we all are talking about degrowth in the revenues, but why we forget one thing, that we were able to successfully pass on the GST levy on the advertisement revenue. So to that extent, you already had a growth despite demonetization, lingering impact of demonetization, despite GST. Right? So, this year has been an eventful year. which definitely, I mean, like, as I mentioned, there are green shoots visible. When I say green shoots are visible, I mean, look at, private sector spending. That is more important. That has done pretty well. Our Bihar, Jharkhand have done pretty well. NCR has done good.
Sure, so I understand that. So what I understand is what you're saying is that this year appears to be sort of a year of an aberration because of the GST and.
Of course. This year, as I mentioned while discussing the second quarter call also,
sure.
let us take this year as non-existent.
Sure, sir. Agreed. So I'm just wondering, so from a margin perspective, FY19. So if I look at your FY17 console margins, they were somewhere around 28% excluding other income.
Yes.
So would FY19, look better than this number? Would look somewhere around this number?
Of course.
This is despite the sort of newsprint prices sharp increase expected in newsprint.
Yes.
Okay, that is very helpful, sir. Thank you and wish you all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pavneet Singh from Skyline Equity Manager. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is regarding the advertisements being placed by consumer durable companies like TV, fridge, AC, as well as the e-commerce companies. Generally, we observe that in every quarter they have 2 to 3 big days sale or 4 big days sale, during which duration they place full page ads and jacket ads in the English dailies. But very often we feel that these advertisements are missing in Hindi dailies. So do you feel that they feel that the Hindi newspaper readers are not aspirational, or price is a deterrent for them?
I'm sorry, I do not agree with that, because for us, the television, the white good industry is a very big advertiser, but this year they have been little muted because of all the GST and everything happening. But white good category is one of our largest categories, and television advertising has been very aggressive with us. I do not know where it has come from, but yeah, I don't think it is true. Because if there are any sales or anything, if there are any launches, if there are any sales, we all get advertising. Be it a jacket, depending on the price they are paying, could be a half page, could be a full page, could be a jacket.
Okay, and what about e-commerce companies? What kind of share do they enjoy with you?
E-commerce is not very aggressive with us, but by the day it is becoming, like Amazon and all of now considering the language publication.
Okay, and what is the current circulation number for Jagaran standalone?
Jagaran standalone would be about 25.
I'm sorry?
Hello?
Yeah, can you please repeat?
Hello?
Hello?
Question, can you please repeat?
Yeah, standalone circulation number for Jagaran.
Dainik Jagaran?
Yeah, Dainik Jagaran.
It is 4.1 million.
And what about midday?
All brands put together, it is about 3 to 4 lakhs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Alok Ramachandran from Future Generali. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my question. Just wanted to know the proportion of imported newsprint in terms of volume in your entire newsprint, consumption.
Imported and indigenous?
Yes, exactly.
Imported is currently 30%.
Okay, so that pricing will be impacted from when onwards?
Not necessary. I mean, like CEO may clarify. I mean, he may like to, reduce the consumption of imported if required.
Okay, so this long-term contracts that you have actually gone ahead with.
That is one part, but let Mr. Sanjay Gupta also, respond to your question.
Sure.
So imported newsprint per se, because we have already firmed up our domestic supplies. Looking into the quality of the product and the aspiration of the readers to read newspapers now in clean newsprint, so we have as a group decided long time back that we will not use very bad quality newsprint. Having said that, imported, we have still to firm up our contracts. If we get good rates, we may continue with the same percentage. But if there is any sharp chance of increase and we are not getting good rates, then yes, definitely Indian supplies will go up.
Okay. Okay. So what I wanted to maybe perhaps if you could throw some light is when was this kind of this contract was been signed with the domestic player?
It's all been done in last 20-25 days.
Okay, so for the 1 year you are kind of logged in, and
It's not exactly 1 year. It's more of a commitment. These are not like written down contracts. These are commitments. That's the way the industry works.
Okay, so on that commitment, does the pricing move, or is the pricing remain constant in that sense?
No. As the CFO has explained that the pricing of domestic is going up, and so is the pricing of imported going up. But imported, we have yet to finalize our contracts. As domestic, we have kind of finalized.
So there also we have a similar kind of contracts currently, or is there a kind of...
No, in imported, those are much more formal contracts.
So much more spot based are they, or are they more?
No, they are not spot based. They are long term contracts.
All right, fine. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akhilesh Bhandari from ICICI Prudential. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you for the opportunity. You spoke about cover prices have started increasing. So is this limited to UP, or you're talking about Bihar as well? Because
across. Wherever, Jagaran has been a player which has always tried to look at increasing the cover prices wherever possible.
Okay. Sir, if you can talk about in more detail about the situation with government advertising, because that's a significant portion of advertising revenue. So what is the outlook, and when do you start actually seeing this increase?
Which you are talking about?
So government advertising.
Government advertising, one has to see it in the right perspective. When I say there is a degrowth in government revenue, it is in comparison with the base which included the revenue from elections.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in comparison with that base, there is a degrowth. If I remove that election revenue component, of course, it may not have registered, 7 to 8% growth or 10% growth, but still, it registered some growth.
Okay.
That is one part. Number two part is, this year, government revenue should do better. First of all, it will have a low base. Number two, again, in 2019, you have elections. So, nearing close of the 2019, you should start getting some, revenues in build-up for election as well from government.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vaibhav Gajatia from HNI Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for providing the follow-up opportunity. So, my question is again on ad yields. So, in last 3 to 4 years, would you say the growth in ad yields is more in line of the ARR growth for our newspaper, or it is higher, or it is lower than that? What's your assessment broadly?
Our yield has been increasing every year, percentage, but with the AIR now, the leadership coming back, we should have a better yield increase than what we have been having.
Okay. And secondly, on the government advertising, so I understand, I guess the rates for the government advertising is decided by DAVP. So how that rates have moved in last 1 or 2 years, and what's your expectation for the next year?
The rates with DAVP moves under circulation given by ABC. So sometimes if a circulation has increased, it has moved up. If it has fallen, it has dipped down. But more or less, Jagaran, it has been a little more or less the same. Somewhere we have dropped some rates, we have got little lesser rates, and somewhere we have got increased. So DAVP, the the basic modus operandi is how many editions you can get it included in the campaign. The more editions, the better rate it gets.
Okay, I think that's it from my side. Thank you.
Whatever increase in circulation has happened this year, now will increase the rate.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhiral Shah from Asit C. Mehta. Please go ahead.
No, sir, my question has been answered.
Okay, sure. We'll move to the next question. Before we take the next question, a reminder to our participants that you may press star and 1 to join the question queue. Our next question is from the line of Yogesh Kirve from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So as far as advertisement revenue growth is concerned, if you look at the non-government side, non-government and non-election, so as far as commercial advertising is concerned, what has been the trends in the national versus local advertising?
On which quarter are you talking? Are you talking about the year?
Yeah, I'm talking about the third quarter specifically. So what has been the growth for national advertising and what has been the growth for local advertising, or some qualitative color on this?
So the national and local both have been muted because nationally, basically because the festive season had fallen into 2 quarters. So our the last quarter was better than what this quarter because of maximum advertising from national came there. So did from the local advertising. And national has been muted this whole year. They have been very, very slow on advertising. And we hope that, once GST and demand effects getting neutralized, we should be able to boost up our revenues from national and local both.
Okay, but if you look at how the November and December is shaping up, so is it that national is showing any better recovery?
Local which has done better.
Local which has done better.
Yeah.
Right. So, and if you could offer any comments, see if you look at the television broadcasters, so despite the fact that festive season was split and the other factors, so they have reported a very good set of advertisement revenue growth. So, do you have any color on that and why the print growth was so slow compared to television during the quarter?
I won't be able to comment on the television part, but as far as print is concerned, yes, it has been muted, but we expect that from January, February onward, it should start getting better.
Sure, sir. Yeah, that's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Kumar from Investec. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks so much. Actually, just continuing, from the previous participants, questions. So you sort of seem to indicate November, December local has done better than national. But within national, FMCG as a category, seems to have, done fine for you. So within national, the other national categories which are there, autos, telecom, etc. Could you please call out which particular category, has been under pressure and any specific reason behind it?
Amit, when I said, I have talked only relatively. In fact, as Director Marketing was explaining, since festive season got divided into 2 quarters, right? So the national advertisers had their role to play in second quarter, right? Automobile, consumer durables, all went with Dussehra. Okay. So they also did very well. Automobile, all did well.
So as I understand that the split, sir. But that split essentially comes in October, right? So November, December, has there been any sort of national category? Because last year, you had demonetization, so even national advertisers, be it FMCG, other guys, everybody had sort of, barring autos probably.
November, December also, if you exclude these, automobile and durables, they also did very well. But when I said, local did better than the national, it was only in the relative term. If local has grown by 12%, they have grown by 9%. That's it. But both of them have recorded very reasonable growth in November and December. It was not disappointing at all.
All right. But within national autos and durables seems to be, areas which have been slightly soft. Actually, just quick, one on that. I mean, any sort of specific reason when we look at the auto, the numbers and, I mean, the two-wheeler and four-wheeler companies which sort of report and SIAM what they report, the volume growth sort of continues to be fairly steady, in the region of 5 to 10%. I know it's not like, blockbuster, but it's sort of steady. So any reason, why the advertising is sort of even in relative terms, sort of, softer than, let's say, FMCG? Anything that you can sort of call out in your conversations with?
Yeah, as far as autos are concerned, I'm just looking at my mail. There were six launches there, which got postponed because of that. Our revenues have fallen, and there has been consumer durables have been little soft, and on all these launches and consumer durables, we are expecting that they should start firing from February, March.
Understood. So it's just a delayed, sort of,
Yes.